Hi, Marion here. Thank you for tuning in. Today I'm going to share a little talk on menopause and I guess a mindful approach to menopause. And this has been spurred on not only because of my own personal journey with menopause, but also working with clients who are going through menopause or perimenopausal. It's coming up a lot in sessions, so I think it's something worthy of talking about. And I've done a lot of research on it because I'm now 50 and I'm sort of right in it, and it is a very interesting time indeed. So here's what I would like to share. Obviously, menopause, for those of you who don't know, I'm sure there may be not too many of you out there, hopefully, living under some kind of rock. But menopause is a natural transition in a woman's life when, the reproductive years finish and they end. And I think there are a lot of massive changes that go on biologically with our bodies and also psychologically. I think that it's both, it's mind and body, and navigating the transition in that way can be really useful rather than just looking at it like a biological thing. So I think it's important that we talk about it. I'm glad I'm talking about it now. Certainly when I grew up, the elders around me weren't talking about it, and maybe there wasn't a lot known about it. So I think it's important to talk about it, and I know that, my young daughters are certainly going to grow up knowing what it is and what it's like, and having someone model the transition, which I think can make a massive difference, having that awareness around it and that visibility of what menopause is actually like. So the more we know about it, the more ease and more empowerment we can have as we transition through it. So there's a few things that are really common for women during the menopausal period, the perimenopausal and the menopausal period. And obviously it's a decline in estrogen and progesterone, two hormones. So that's the big change that happens. So some of the common symptoms that we could experience include hot flushes and night sweats, mood swings, anxiety, or a sense of irritability, brain fog, forgetfulness, a lot of trouble sleeping, and then real changes in weight and energy levels. And most women are unique. We're all different. We're not all cut from the same cloth. So it's important to know that, it's not uncommon that some people will experience some of those symptoms and others will experience different ones. But most people can find it a little bit challenging. But it can also be a really powerful invitation for women to really slow down and reflect on life and reconnect to what really matters. Because the actually exciting thing about being alive in 2025 is that at 50, women are more empowered than ever before in history and are going to live a lot longer than ever before in history. So we could potentially have another 50 years to live our lives and to have the opportunity to have agency and be empowered on how we move forward in our lives. And I think that's an incredible opportunity for great self-leadership and honouring the challenge in a way that makes the most out of our life experience. So today I'm going to share with you some things that really not only support me, but have helped my clients with this period of time. And I invite you to really kind of take some notes or research these for yourself. So the first one is mindfulness, and obviously that's my area of expertise. I have a very long life practice in mindfulness personally, but it really helps cope with changes, whether they're psychological changes, whether they're physical changes. Mindfulness just increases your ability to cope with change, and therefore you can stay connected to the present moment, the breath, and allow what is emerging to emerge. just a quick little body scan can make such a difference to see what's in there and what wants to be known about this experience. Sometimes I have hot flushes at nighttime, and I wake up and I'm quite, my body's quite irritated and I'm quite hot. And if I go straight to a mindfulness practice, I give myself a chance to regulate my nervous system, allow my my sensory world inside to settle, and then I have a lot more clarity of mind, and a lot more easefulness in my body just from doing a morning practice. And that really sets a tone then for my day. And this can be something that helps me get through that transition, rather than kind of being on edge and kind of wound up from those symptoms. And I really encourage everyone to kind of have that practice, not only for menopause, but obviously for life, because we can tend to fall into reactive patterns if we're not practicing mindfulness. So just taking a pause and doing some nice deep breaths can make a difference to how you navigate those symptoms. So thinking about hormones and the changes that are going on physically, it's really important to acknowledge that during this time, exercise is not just for physical health, but it can also improve emotional balance. There is a great book by Dr. Stacy Sims called Next Level, and she provides really excellent science-backed research to understand how we need to change our exercise regime when we become menopausal. It's very different to how we might train, say, in our 20s. And it's very different from how men train. I like that in a recent YouTube video I saw of her, an interview, she said women are not small men, and we're actually not. We're completely different creatures, and we have different chemicals coursing through our bodies, and very different ways of metabolizing and using energy. So I think it's really important to understand the differences and to train and do physical activity that supports the fact that you are a woman in menopause. Some of the things she says are strength training to maintain muscle and bone density is really important, short bursts of cardio for heart health, and prioritize recovery and listening to your bodily signals. And I'll provide a couple of links in the comments about her resources. Then there's also natural supports and supplements. I'm very much about the natural approach at this point. I'm 50. Who knows, that might change. And I certainly don't begrudge anyone who's doing hormone treatment or taking a more of a medical approach, but you know, I'm not a medical expert, so I'm going to focus on the natural approach and what I'm doing to work naturally with menopause. I've started taking Swisse Menopause Balance. It's a hormone with an ingredient called black conch, I think it's called, cohosh. And that's a great supplement for just taking the edge off the hot flushes. It's certainly helping my sleep. And I feel like it just gives me a little bit more balance with the hormonal change. Another one, a girlfriend of mine who's a Chinese medicine specialist, Arian Young, recommended to me was Angelica root. This is something that nourishes the blood, supports hormonal harmony, and can reduce inflammation. So the thing with Chinese medicine is, from my understanding, is that any kind of heat in the body can cause inflammation. So you want to try and cool the body, and looking at cooling foods, and particularly the Angelica root tea can really help with that inflammation. And then there's also magnesium and omega-3s can support muscle relaxation and sleep and mood regulation. I'm not taking those specifically, but there is some evidence around those being a great naturopathic kind of supplement to take. So another area that's really important to focus on that I wanted to talk about today is getting your sleep, good nourishment from food, and obviously self-compassion, because any kind of change or uncertainty stimulates a fear response in us. So being really kind to yourself, being gentle through this transition is so important. Keeping a consistent bedtime can make a difference. Not going on your phone at night and all of those just normal things that you do for sleep hygiene can really make a difference to the quality of your sleep. And then things like just your leafy greens, lots of greens, less, processed foods is always good. I'm not a huge nutrition focused person, but I do tend to eat a very natural as possible kind of diet as much as possible and try and keep it well balanced. One thing I have noticed though is that if I eat the same amount that I did 5 years ago, I'm going to put on more weight. So I'm just a little bit more mindful of the sizes. I don't need as much food. And I do need a lot more greens and a lot more really raw kind of ingredients, as I think. And I'm trying to stay away from sugar, although chocolate is my weakness. But I kind of like the French idea, if you got to enjoy food and have pleasure from eating. And if you do tend to indulge a little bit, the next day you just reduce and balance it. I've quit alcohol now for about 6 months. And I think that's really made a massive difference to my gut health, my sleeping, everything. And I never drank a lot. I only really had a glass a week potentially. So I highly recommend doing that. And the last but not least, and this is one that I absolutely encourage, is creative expression for emotional flow. So lots of different things arise in menopause. I want to completely normalize it. It's natural. It's a massive change that you're going through. So creative expression can be really grounding. It can help you have a liberating kind of outlet for all of the crap that, goes on in menopause. Journaling, painting, dancing, gardening, even photography can be a great way to process different feelings that are happening, release some stress, and listen to that inner voice and express it more. Reconnecting with that creative energy that keeps on wanting to be expressed and flowing through you. And another great book that really focuses on it as a rite of passage and looks back to ancient kind of storytelling and mythology, particularly from Europe, is a book called Hagitude by Sharon Blackie. She is an amazing author, and I read this early on in my menopause journey, and it really set me up for being open to, I guess, the psychological transition of menopause and not just seeing it as like a biological thing, but to really own it and allow yourself to go through that journey with, I guess, grace and strength and much clarity. So thank you for listening to my menopause talk. I think it's taken a lot of courage for me to give this talk because, not all my clients are kind of going through this, but more and more are. And I thought, you know what, this is really something that hits home for me too. And it's time that I started talking about it. So I hope it's been helpful for you. If you'd like more support around this, please get in touch. I offer one-on-one coaching. I have a creative women's circle. Many of us in the circle are menopausal and going through menopause, and we're doing it together. And in October, I'm offering a lovely holistic retreat in Pennyroyal in the Otways with another couple of facilitators and a manager. We've got a great cook, a yoga teacher. We've got a whole team of experts from different areas. And we're really looking forward to supporting people and really nurturing and creating a wonderful space for transformation and regeneration. And that's in October. But I am offering an early bird special, so if you get onto that soon, you'll be able to get a really good discount. So thank you for tuning in and have a great week, everyone. Bye for now.